Does anybody have any questions before we begin? Ooh, this looks like an extra credit day. Everybody pull out a piece of paper real quick. Anybody who comes in late is not getting these points. Hurry up, go ahead, get it out. You got 10 seconds. What is your name? What is your name? Is the extra credit question today. Got 10 seconds, hurry up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're on section 4. You guys remember who's? We did what?
We did 1 video.
No, we did 2 for sure. Either 3 or 4. All right, let's try 3.
I think we're on 3, but I don't know.
Okay, I need all the papers right now. Pass them to the middle.
Zero-based budget.
Zero-based budget.
A budget that has
We did this.
running income.
Someone who has 0 money.
Can't remember which one was which. So then it goes to this thing. It's a hey, let me play again.
Is there any
Go
lines?
to yes. There we go. Okay, so what is a zero-based budget?
Basically, it's something where you plan out each month, like paychecks for how much you make a month, and zero out things you take for like save up.
Okay, so the zero comes from what specifically?
Just trying to use all the money you get in the month towards your expenses.
And not only trying to do it, so I think you're right on the right thing, but you're kind of mixing doing it and planning for it. And so it's real important on that. So if we think of, let me get a little timeline here. So here is today. Here is tomorrow. Here is the past. Right? So where does the zero-based budget belong? Today, past, or future?
Today and
Today and future? It's kind of, you might have a start of today, like you just got paid today, right? But otherwise, all of the spending, assuming you're sitting down to do the budget, all of the spending is future or today? Future. All of the spending is for sure future. Some of the income might be future. So this is where our zero-based budget lives. The thing we did yesterday, I guess, just to highlight, our wealth, our consumer equity sheet that we did, that lives right here today. So this is the wealth, which we did at a point in time, right? Like today, what's the value of my laptop? What's the value of my car? What's the value of this or that, right? That I own. Dollar value of what I own. I should let you guys tell me this. Minus the dollar value of what I owe, right? What I own minus what I owe. So that analysis lives right here today. You can have a plan to become a millionaire in 30 years. That would be kind of future planning of why we're doing some of this other stuff. All right, so the zero-based budget is that my income or money today, minus my planned spending equals 0. That's where the 0 comes from. So we have a zero-based budget that this equation equals 0 while we're doing this planning exercise. That's all we're doing. Every dollar has a name. We have a plan for what we want to do. All right, so you guys had your exercises due last night. Most of you did them. Some of you did not. So you get a 20% penalty for doing it late. And what did we have for Marcus? So those of you who completed it, which is probably most of you in this room anyway, what was Marcus's deal? Tell me about what you did for Marcus. And I noticed I did look at your papers already. Some of you didn't drive it to 0. So most of you did. If you use that tool, it kind of almost forces you to do it. If you use one of the planning tools, either on everydollar.com or the EveryDollar app, or the one on the Foundation's U, it kind of gives you a reminder to make sure you're driving this equation to 0. So what did you find when you entered in Marcus's data? Was his equal to 0 at this time? No. So what did you have to do? Abby, what did you do? Did he have too much money or not enough? Like, what did his equation turn out to be?
He had, I'm pretty sure he had quite a bit left.
Okay, so we had a positive number here, right? Okay, so that's okay. We can just have leftover money. What's the problem with leftover money in a budget?
You're not putting it towards anything you want, so you can use it.
Yeah, good. So it might just kind of disappear, is what he's claiming. I think we can all probably relate to that if there's some extra money. So we're just going to give it a name. If later on the week, like I told you with my envelope system, if later on in the week you don't like the name that you gave it, you can switch it. It's your budget. It's your money. It's not your mom and dad's money at this point. We're talking about your money, right? So just change it if you don't like it. But when you sit down to plan for it, this needs to equal 0. So, what did you throw money at? Abby, do you recall what you did?
He doesn't have any savings, so I probably put.
Good. So now we go back to our baby steps, which we didn't highlight last time. What's baby step number 1? This is really our roadmap. Emergency fund, how big? Anybody can help?
500 or 20,000.
500 if you're making less than 20,000 a year, or how much if you're over? 1,000. So we got a $1,000 emergency fund, and then if you want, we can put 500 if income is less than 20,000. That's fine. Baby step number 2.
Pay off all debt.
Pay off all debt. Get rid of all the debt. So, and then let's go ahead and list number 3.
36 months.
Of expenses. 3 to 6 months of expenses is built up as your new big emergency fund. Okay, so when you look at a guy like Marcus here, and he's got leftover money, what's your first thing that comes to mind using Dave's plan here of what he should try to do with the money?
Put it in as an emergency.
Put it as an emergency fund. Now, if he's already got a $1,000 emergency fund, which does that say that in this problem? Does he have $1,000? No. So then you just stop there. If he had a $1,000 emergency fund already, then we move to baby step number 2. Does Marcus have any debts, school loans, car loans, anything? Throw that extra money at that, right? So that's the system kind of working all of these things together. All right, and then we had Cassie. And what happened with Cassie's? Abby, give me a number between 1 and 5. 3. 1, 2, 3. Anna, did you do the homework? What did you do? What did you find out about Cassie's? Was she over or under? Under. I think that's right? Did other people get that? Go ahead and support, and if that's the case, okay. So if you're under with this equation, what did you have to do to Cassie's budget? What do you need to do with her situation? What's the advice that you give her if you want, if you're helping her put together a zero-based budget? What's that? Yeah, in what way? A little more specific, you're right. So it's probably on the spending side, right? What does she need to do? Okay, specifically, what does she need to do? So let's just say, I don't know if you remember, are you looking at your sheet? Do you know how much she was under? Does anybody remember how much she was under, just for illustration purposes? Let's just say she's under $100. So she's short $100. In other words, 1,000 minus 1,100 equals a negative 100. So what does she need to do then? Has she spent this money already? I saw a couple heads shaking yes. So we got to all kind of buy into this program. Where, when we're doing this exercise, where do we live? In the future, right? This budget is for the future. So that money has not been spent yet. So now, what does Cassie need to do if her future planning numbers are coming up with, again, I'm just making up numbers here, 1,000 minus 1,100 equals negative 100. Whoops! I'm planning to overspend the income that I have. What does she need to do? What's that? And I'm just trying to get you down. I'm not trying to pick on you. So in order to make the numbers equal, what would she have to do on this side? It's 1,100 currently, and that's not right, is what you're identifying. So what would she need to do to plan better? What is she going to need to do with one of her categories? Not spend so much. She needs to reduce it, right? Now, does she have to take it all from one category? No. It could be 25 from this one, 25 from this one, and 50 from another one. But she needs to think through the fact that she doesn't have enough money for the spending she's planning to do. You need to cut something, right? That's what we're doing here. That's all it is just getting a grasp of reality that I can't spend money I don't have. And let's not plan to spend money I don't have, because lots of people do spend money they don't have. How do you spend money that you don't have? Credit card, right? You just get, yeah, that's easy. Real easy. They make it real easy for you. That's what we're going to learn in the debt lesson. We're going to learn a little bit about credit card companies and lenders and stuff. So we're going to be in control of our money. We're going to reduce some categories. You remember what you reduced? Did you drive it to zero? What did you reduce? Activities, yeah. I mean, that would be the normal place. You know, can we reduce our utilities? No, right? If the utility bill is what it is, assuming we had a realistic number that the bill coming up next week is X, we don't want to do that. So she has $130 for her own car repairs, maintenance, and gas, and auto insurance. Could she reduce that category? Yes. Could she ride her bike if she wanted to, you know, this week I'm going to ride my bike. I normally spend, you know, whatever, $10 in gas. Or 20, you know what I'm saying? It forces you to make decisions. Like, maybe I can carpool with my friend. I usually like to drive myself because I have to go to work an hour early because her shift starts an hour early. But maybe I'll make that sacrifice, right? So, and of course, groceries, do I have enough food? Can I scrap by with what, you know? So you just start thinking, which category should I trim down to make this equation equal? And then again, if you kind of screw up in one category, maybe there was some uncertainty, and a week later you can shift some dollars from one envelope to the other, you do it. Not that big a deal. We're just managing our money. All right, so questions or comments there? This is the absolute most important thing to make you $1 million. If you guys start doing this zero-based budget, that is the thing that if you listen to some of Dave Ramsey's radio programs and they do the debt-free screen like every hour, I listened to it on and off over the last, whatever, 15 years. The thing that people always point to is this zero-based budget. That did it. Like, they might have screwed up on some other tips and advice and techniques, but if you get this down, it's a very powerful tool. Probably the most powerful thing in terms of managing your money. Yes, Caleb. Yeah. Yes, Abby.
We have to do our own budget, that, and we were just supposed to do this.
Your own budget too was part of the exercise, yeah. But that's fine. We're going to actually do another one with you here in a little bit because I want you guys to get your motor started. So that part of it's not as important as the other parts. Okay. So I want to show you my budget, not my real budget, but my budgeting sheet. How many of you are kind of feel comfortable with Microsoft Excel? Okay, during your time here at OU, take every opportunity to get more comfortable with Excel because it's going to be it's a tool that all employers really use almost across the board. No matter what, if you're an exercise science major or business major or otherwise, you're going to hopefully get exposed to opportunities in the business school specifically. How many business majors do I have here? 1, 2, 3. So we're making, we started this a long time ago, trying to make sure our graduates have some decent Excel skills. So I'm going to make this available for you guys, but it's not going to be required as any sort of work. I just want to show you kind of everything at a glance that looks overwhelming, right? We got a lot of numbers up here, but hopefully it'll kind of piece together what you saw in the videos and what you need to know for tonight's homework too, okay? All right, so over to the left here is your income. So that's this thing that looks so cute and pretty and little right here. You might have various sources. So I have John and Jane are a couple, and they have income from multiple sources. And so we're going to add up their income together. So John is $4,000 a month, Jane's at $1,500, and some maybe miscellaneous job. So they've got $5,600 here in a given month that they're going to spend. So I want to ignore this for now. So we're kind of doing their monthly budget at a snapshot. And so then they think about, oh, there's my payments, my mortgage, electricity and water, the utilities, food, transportation. What did we identify as housing, utilities, food, transportation? What did we call those in the videos and in your materials? Those 4 things, what did we call those? Extra credit point for somebody who can pull it off. You can take a guess if you want. What? Floor walls. Excellent. Is that Connor back there? All right. Nice job, Connor. All right. So we had the 4 walls of security. Now, you guys remember 4 walls now that Connor reminded you? So we have the 4 walls. Those are the things that we're going to really always protect. So notice they're at the top of the sheet. So we got our savings for emergency fund. If that's already fully funded, we don't need to put more money in if we already got $1,000, for instance. But then boom, I've got the basics of life that I need to have in line, including gas and all that stuff. And then we can get into clothing and medical. And notice that there's a lot of zeros here. This is the way my real budget, again, this is the sheet my wife and I sit down every 2 weeks and fill out. We've been doing this for a long time, 4 years since we, or I guess I'm longer than that, gosh. And so a lot of these don't apply, but as her and I sit down to plan things, we're like, oh yeah, do we have any doctor bills coming up? No, right? And so it's a 0. But for the month, you want to be able to budget something into that. So we got a health club, some personal things, and then of course the most important, blow. John's got some blow, Jane's got some blow, the family has some money to blow, right? So we're putting that in envelopes. So that budgeting exercise here ends up transferring into cash in my envelope that I can use then as I go out to the real world and start spending some money. And then your debts. So if you have any debts here, school loans or other things, you're going to do that. And so Again, the most important part of this exercise is that we're driving it down to 0. So we want our numbers inflow to equal outflow. Okay, so that is the monthly thing. The monthly thing isn't really what we use all the time, though. It's good to kind of know globally how things are working out, and then you could extrapolate that to annually, like I make X amount, I make $75,000 a year between the two of us. Globally, what does it look like? You see what I'm saying about globally? But the nuts and bolts are right here, because in reality, different payments have different due dates throughout the month, right? And so what we do is we sit down and say, okay, I just got paid $1,000 is the paycheck that I have in hand, and we got some irregular income. So notice that I have the running balance. I'm letting the computer just do the running balance here. So I'm adding up, I've got $1,100 to spend. And now again, my first thing is my mortgage. I'm going to put $250 into an envelope to help pay my $858 worth of rent or mortgage or whatever that I have coming up. And so when I entered the $250, the computer again just took that money out of the running balance, right? So it's $1,100 minus $250 equals $850, and then we just keep spending money as we go down, driving that thing ultimately to 0. Now, some of those bills, like, let's see, where's my utilities here? Well, let me just take this one here. So let's say the gas bill is on the 13th, or later on in the month, then I can come over to this column and put the 30 here. And so now I'm starting to look at September in terms of, I got this money coming in, I got money, another paycheck coming in, how am I going to spread my money across the month, right? And then, so that's this future idea. Here we are today, and where is my money going to be spent on the upcoming month? So really, Excel is really just nothing more than a big calculator that helps us do the math. You can do this by hand as well. We're going to do an exercise by hand. But that is the kind of all of these sheets in one spot. You got your spending, you got your monthly analysis, and then you spread it over the month. Questions or comments on the layout? Or just the sheets in general, and that's all the stuff that the video went. This is the allocated spending plan. All right, down at the bottom, again, this is just what my wife and I do. You saw the breakdown of savings. And so if you have $3,300 in your savings account, by using this sheet each month or each whenever you look at it, you can start to keep track of, oh yeah, I got books coming up. I want $400 of that $3,300 going towards books. Maybe we have an entertainment category, car replacement. Like, I think my car is going to be good for 3 years, but let's kind of slowly throw some money at a car replacement. Maybe I'm going to regularly put in $100 a month, unless for some reason there's some other bills that come up in a given paycheck. But maybe we'll throw a little bit each paycheck or a little bit each month to a car replacement fund. And then summer housing. So I have the computer here then adding these up to 3,300. That's just a simple sum of that column just to double check. So I go to my bank statement. My bank tells me I got 3,300. Let's say now that my bank, after this paycheck and I put some money towards savings, I now have $3,500. Oops, not 350, 3,500. Now, I know that I've got 200 more to put towards maybe the car. Maybe that was the intent, or maybe it's 100 towards books. So I go 500 towards books and 300 towards the car replacement, and boom, I'm balanced again, right? So all I'm doing is I'm thinking about a number of different things that I have some future spending to do on, and I'm going to keep track of it. So questions on the breakdown of savings? So this is really an envelope in a sense, right? You could keep this as cash at home. I wouldn't advise you keeping maybe this much cash in your dorm room anyway, right? But in theory, this could be an envelope. So instead of using an envelope, we're going to keep it in our savings account and just keep it itemized like this on a simple sheet. And I'm sure you could have other apps that you could use that do the exact same thing. I know that they're out there. I've seen a couple of students that have some pretty cool ones. So once you start to see these things, then you can search for your own tool that you're comfortable with using. Okay. So let's do a little budget of your own here. So again, this was part of the exercise last night, but I want to make it maybe a little simpler. You might not have had the same thing that I want you to do. I'd like you to get in the habit this spring semester of just doing your own when you have it coming up. So to do this, I just want you to have how much money, what do you have today in terms of spendable money sitting in your account? You know, everybody's going to have a different answer. Pull out a sheet of paper. What is your spendable money today? And if you literally have 20 bucks, 40 bucks, 90 bucks, that's totally fine. Let's start everybody off with 100. So I know that's kind of funny money, but I want it to be, we're going to start dreaming here early. So minimum of 100, just to kind of help with the exercise. So let's put minimum of $100, even if you don't have $100.
You have a.
No, I don't. I don't know where one is even, but does somebody have a, I got an extra pen here, or somebody, unless somebody's going to, actually I got a pencil. I don't know if there's any left in there. Looks like there's. Okay, and then next what you're gonna do is have 4 to 6 categories of spending that are personal to you. 4 to 6 categories of spending. So category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4, and then if you want to go optional, you can go 4 and 6 or 5 and 6, but you don't have to. For college students, I don't want you to be overwhelmed with that big spreadsheet that I just showed you, but you saw the types of things that are on there. So make one that's personal for you. It could be something that you're going to be doing in the future, like you're not going to spend any money on books like right now, but in the future you'd like to carve out some of the money you have currently for school. So your category might be real broad, it might be narrow. It's totally up for you. This class is called what? What's the name of this class? Personal finance. I'm trying to make this personal to you so that you can really put it into motion after we learn the tools. So come up with 4 to 6 categories. I know one category that I'm going to force you to have on there. Do you guys, anybody know what it is? No. Blow. Bingo. Not even emergency. I know that you need to blow some money. Everybody needs to blow some money once in a while. Some people maybe are really, really tight. But blow, and you can call it fun money or miscellaneous money, you know, whatever works for you. But make sure that category is one of your categories. And then next, what I want you to do is do the exercise. When we do it by hand and paper, instead of Excel spreadsheets, instead of pulling up apps, it's so easy to pull out a notebook paper and do this little exercise anytime. All I want you to do is say, okay, category 1, I've got $20 that I'm spending on it. I started with 100 or whatever your starting balance was. And now that means there's 80 left. So it's the amount you're spending, remaining balance. And then you're going to go to the next one. $10 for this category, remaining balance. So that's the technique. So you guys work on that. I'll walk around the room if you got any specific questions. That one needs a little help, but maybe you're not done yet. That's good. That's good. Good. Quick breakdown. Let's see. Okay, you're fixing. All right. You're still working. That needs a little help. That looks good. That looks good. And that looks good. So guess what I was grading? Was I looking at all of your categories? And I cared about you personally, what you chose to put in each category? What did I grade as I walk around? Get to a 0. That's all I'm looking for. So if this is 50, this goes down to 20. And then the last category that would leave. So this is the most important part of that whole exercise. That's what we call it the zero-based budget. Every dollar has a name. So you're kind of always working down. But you see how easy that was? I mean, if you guys really got the hang of it, and you knew your categories already, you didn't have to put much thought, you could sit down in your dorm room and pencil that out anytime. Like, oh, I just got paid. I got $125. Let me sit down, look at this. Maybe you have a notebook paper, and then the next month comes along, and you just do it again. So you can kind of keep this going. This is the one that you did today, which is 21st, 121. And then a week later, you're like, oh, you know, that really wasn't that hard. Let's 128, go back down and revisit it. And you might have just gotten paid a paycheck. Let's say you didn't get down to 0 though. So you go to 128, and there's $17 left in your account. Did you screw up? Yeah. So 121, we sat down and everything looked beautiful. Plus, you got a 0 and everything. And now it's 128. And we just got a paycheck. And so it was like you had your paycheck plus your new, I'm sorry, not your paycheck, your old balance. And then you see you got your paycheck in. And that was a $103. So now you have 120 is the new balance in your account. Did you mess up your budget by having $17 left when you sat down, when you got your new paycheck? Did you screw up? No. That's going to happen. In fact, you're probably almost never going to get a 0 after the fact. So when you look today, the new today is 128. You're here. Now you're looking at your actual spending that you did, which may not, and actually usually will not, you shouldn't even expect it to perfectly match up with what you planned. That's not the point, right? The point is that you knew when you went to go spend something that if I want to spend more in this category, it's got to come from someplace. That's really what you're doing each time, right? And you start to feel more comfortable that you're not spending next semester's books on something today, right? You're cognizant of that. And then you can also keep track of your breakdown of savings as you go. So another separate exercise would be to look at your breakdown of savings. So we have our budget. Now we have $120 to spend. And so category 1 maybe ends up being 40 this time. So we're down to 80. And then this is 20 down to 60. And this is 30 down to 30. And category 4 gets 0. So now again, I've planned all the money in my account has a plan. Every dollar has a name, and I start moving forward. Some of that money I might have put into an envelope and put it in my personal wallet. Some of that money might be on auto withdrawal from my checking account, so I just leave it in my checking account. And maybe it gets spent, maybe it doesn't, depending on what you're comfortable with. So this leftover money concept, by the way, can be potentially leftover money in an envelope or something, which is fine. You just deal with how much more you want to add to the envelope that particular month, knowing that you had 17 left over in that envelope or whatever, right? So it's always very flexible, and you just kind of keep marching along. I like to call this windshield work. So when we're driving a car, what we don't want to do is be looking backwards with our spending. We can beat ourselves up. We should learn from the past. Like, oh, that was really stupid that I did that last week. But for the most part, we've kind of got this positive outlook of moving forward. The budgeting exercise is what I call windshield work. Where are we going with our money, right? So this is us. Here we are today in our car. The rear view mirror has history, but we're more concerned with what's ahead of us on the road. Okay, questions or comments on the budget? You guys starting to feel a little more comfortable with it now? Some people, Sultan, what's your most uncomfortable thing? No, oh, you're fine? Okay, I saw your head shaking, no, that, you were just impressed with how much money you had actually in your account? Okay, I was, I saw the head shaking, so I wanted to make sure there wasn't something we could overcome here. All right, cool. Okay, so let's next go to our case study. So on your same sheet there, we're going to look at our case studies for this chapter. All right, we're going to start with old Waverly here. Get the screen dropped. Oh. All right. So Waverly believes it's a great idea to give every dollar a name. So every month she does this without fail. She writes down everything she spends, including every last penny, and she enters it into a spreadsheet. As the month progresses, she updates her spreadsheet every time she makes a purchase. Then at the end of the month, Waverly reviews her spreadsheet to see where her money has gone. Unfortunately, every month she seems to somehow manage to spend more money than she should. She tries to figure out what went wrong, but it just doesn't make sense to her. So number one, I'd like you to put on your sheets here. Number one, how would you solve Waverly's budgeting issue? So only answer number one. Go ahead and put Waverly on your paper, and put Waverly, and then put number one, and put your answer. How would you solve Waverly's budgeting? Okay, as a class, I want to tackle number two first here. Is it right in giving every penny a name for Waverly? Is that the right idea, to give every penny a name? That sound like the right thing? We've been talking about every dollar. So that part of her plan is right. Now, it's actually called giving every dollar a name. Is it real important as you're doing this process to go down to the penny? No. Just have a class discussion here on number two. What do you think? Is it important to go down to the penny? She's apparently an accounting or a blossoming accounting student or something. I want every detail, I want everything to fit in a nice little box. When you're doing the process that we just went through with you guys, is it important to go down to the penny?
Just the nearest dollar.
Nearest dollar, is the nearest dollar enough? That's kind of what I'm asking. Yeah, is the nearest dollar enough, or is it more important, like you'll be a better manager of your money, you'll become wealthier faster, whatever you want to say. It'll be better to go all the way down to a penny level. No, why? I agree with you, no. Who said no? All right, Connor, why? Okay, 40 cents doesn't matter. Possibly. Anybody want to add on to that? I think you could strengthen your response. I mean, 40 cents, depending on how much money you have, but you're right, in general, 40 cents for most people doesn't matter. So rounding to the nearest dollar would probably be okay. There was something else we did with that budget, the thing that I just highlighted that I think is even more important from a planning standpoint, to round up. Yes, and you're going to be wrong, right? Imagine I'm going to spend on food $66.74 or whatever. It doesn't even make sense actually from this standpoint. I just told you that 99% of the time you're going to have money left over in one category or the other. You're not going to be right. That's not the point, right? So rounding to the nearest dollar is plenty fine, even if you know. So when I do my budgeting sheet here, even if you know that your electric bill, it's usually like electric bill, but your health insurance bill is actually $29.76. Like you have the bill in front of you and you know it's due in 5 days. $29.76. I just round up. I just say 30. It doesn't matter. We're not doing this to be that precise for a budgeting exercise. Okay, so now what did Waverly go wrong with? These are your answers. Somebody give me let's see, where was our number 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Josh. did you put
I said, what,
for number one?
oh, I said you can use the envelope.
Okay, so because she was overspending, so go to envelopes. Okay, that would be a suggestion. Somebody else? What was she doing wrong here? Yeah.
Just try and spend less on what she's overspending on, like splurging.
Okay. Why is she going over though, Abby?
I said she isn't planning for the future.
Yeah, she's doing rear view mirror, right? She's taking all of her receipts and recording them in a spreadsheet. That's an accounting exercise, but more importantly for what we're talking about, it's rear view mirror. That's why she's running out of money. She's not planning this money forward. She's not doing windshield work, she's doing rear view mirror work. And so that's not the point of this. We don't have to be a good accountant. You don't have to keep track of every little penny that you spent, although we went through the checkbook exercise, balancing your checkbook, but your bank account has the actual money you spent. And of course, we recommend that you keep it on your own with the checkbook register that we did. That's all rear view mirror stuff. That just helps you plan for the future. But that's where Waverly's really going wrong. Okay, questions or comments, Sarah? All right, Tyler and Brittany. Tyler and Brittany got married 6 months ago, and they both have good jobs coming out of college. Tyler landed a marketing job in the communications company, making a starting salary of $40,000 a year. Brittany began her career as first grade teacher's aide at a local school, making $10 per hour after taxes for 30 hours a week. After their wedding, they each purchased new vehicles, coming complete with car loans. Tyler's payment on the truck is $488 per month, and Brittany is leasing her new compact car for nothing down and $239 per month for the next 3 years. They are also thinking about buying a home with a mortgage payment of $1,850. After figuring monthly expenses, they realize there isn't much left over at the end of the month. And so given that information, I don't want you to write this one on your papers here. Let's just talk about if they continue spending their habits, or they continue this habits, predict what their financial state will be a couple of years from now. So a couple of years from now, maybe as part of this exercise, if you guys want to let's do a little bit of math here. I think is good for looking at this one. So $40,000 per year. Somebody got, go ahead and pull out your calculator. I mean your phone. You can pull out your phone and use it as a calculator right now. I want to get you guys good, kind of crunching some numbers here. So what's Tyler's monthly pay?
3,300.
All right, 40,000 divided by 12. Is that what you did, Caleb? Okay, $3,333. We'll leave off. All right, we'll leave off the pennies. All right, and then Brittany here, what is she making? $10 per hour after taxes for 30 hours. So what is she making? That's per week.
10,000.
Okay, and so how'd you get that? 10 times 30, and then times 4 gives you 1,200. Something like that, just for spitballing purposes anyway. We could be a little more careful with, how is she working 52 weeks a year, not always 4 weeks a month. But so this is good. And so combined together, they have, what do we got here? $4,533 per month. They've got the truck and the lease. So we've got the minus 488 and the minus 239. So that's the truck and the car payment. What do we get there now? 3,806. And they're thinking about an 1,850 payment, right? So 1,850. If we do 1,850, subtract that off of that sucker, what do we get here? 1,956. Do they got enough money to buy the house? 1,900 per month left over. Do you think a lot of young couples do what we just did to determine whether they should buy a house?
No.
What else do they do? Okay, all right, so they might even just start up here and say, oh, we got 4,500, we can buy the house, right? But even starting here, does $1,956, I know to you guys sound like a lot of money, right? And it's a decent amount of money on a given month, right? You know, can you afford to buy some food in there? Sure. But I guarantee you, if they went through and actually did a full-blown zero-based budget and really thought about toilet paper and groceries and gas and insurance, right? We're skipping a whole bunch of stuff here when we just put the monthly payment for the truck. They're probably very tight on that. So that is part of the problems that they might find in. They might agree, oh, we got 1,956, we can buy the thing. What's your predictions for their marriage here? Rosie, all good. You see a few fights in their future, maybe? If they come down, oh, you bought too much toilet paper. Oh, you went out to the bar last night. All right, we got to pay our mortgage payment. All right. So write this down on your papers. I want to see this, that you guys did this. Okay, I think we're going to skip Sophia because I do want to talk about taxes. So the last video section I'm going to leave as homework for you to look through. It is just on taxes. And so you got your regular base work due tonight. Yeah, next one. All right. Okay, so tax time is coming.
So can I go?
Yes, sorry. All right, so you guys, how many of you already gotten your tax thing returned to you already? Your money, how much money you made during the year? Those usually come out end of January. Some employers get them out a little bit early. So this last form just kind of talks about taxes. And the main thing that I want you to come away from, since we're this far into it, is we don't have any sections where you're really figuring out calculating taxes, right? But you've got programs. How many of you have paid like H&R Block or something to do your taxes? Usually runs a little bit. Now, are you paying anything for it, or okay? So TurboTax for free. So I recommend you doing that and not pay anybody, because taxes nowadays with some of those programs, it's real easy when your income's easy. Now, I want you to be careful though, because as you start to have a few things, the reason, guess why H&R Block gives it to you for free, or TurboTax gives it to you for free? Guess why?
So you think that they have to.
Yeah, so they start to kind of like, oh, you were free, but now that your life is a little more complex, we'll do it for the upgraded version of $8 or whatever. They also will try to get you on, they'll fill out the federal one for free, and then they'll say, oh, we can do your Kansas tax return for the low price of X. But that X is something that's really easy to figure out. So I just want to expose to you here what you're doing with the tax return real quickly. How many of you have parents or parents' accountant figure this out for you? Okay, so usually quite a few people there. And again, that's why we're learning it in this class, so that you know how easy it actually is. So on the back is your W-2 that should be coming in the mail. How many of you had jobs that you're expecting you're going to have to at least reconcile with the government? Okay, so you're going to get this form in the mail. It's going to show you what your pay was, if there was any taxes withheld, all of that stuff. And then basically you input that data. Again, if you're using TurboTax or some other one, you just plug and play it in there. But $20,000 worth of income, there could be some deductions that are automatic by the state. Some of those were actually changed with the last tax code. But again, TurboTax is just going to figure this out for you. And then you just enter in those numbers, and you're either going to get a refund or you're going to have zero taxes due. And so this little EZ form is really what TurboTax and H&R Block are filling out. In the old days, you just had a simple little form like this that you would fill out. You have lots of homework problems that are much more difficult than doing your taxes. So my main thing is, don't pay anybody to do your taxes at this point. I pay somebody to do my taxes, but I have multiple business interests and other things going on with it, and it gets so crazy that it's well worth I think I spent about $800 to get my tax return paid or done. And it's well worth it because the IRS has this stuff so jumbled up. But this easy form, when you just have the simple W-9 to fill it out, super easy. Don't pay anybody to do it for sure. And that's it. You guys got your stuff due tonight. Turn in your sheets. That'll be your points, in-class points for today. You do have that one video section. That last video section is homework, in addition to your other stuff. But it's a fairly short one, fairly straightforward.